On a Thursday morning in June, a man named Ken Dahl drove his Chevy Bolt 7.33 miles in 18 minutes. 2 hard accelerations, 2 hard braking events. Nothing unusual, just a normal commute. But that drive didn't stay in his car. It went from General Motors to a company called LexisNexis to 8 different insurance companies, without Ken Dahl ever being told it was happening. His insurance premium went up 21%. "It felt like a betrayal," he said. "They're taking information that I didn't realize was going to be shared and screwing with our insurance." Here's the part that should actually scare you. Ken Dahl didn't do anything wrong. He didn't get in an accident. He didn't get a ticket. His car just reported on him, quietly, constantly. And he found out the same way most people find out, after it already cost him money. If you drive anything made in the last 5 years, your car is probably doing the exact same thing to you right now. So today we're going to open up exactly what your car knows, who it's telling, and show you exactly where the data comes from and why almost nobody reads the fine print that allows it. Let's get into it. Quick reframe before we go further, because this is the part people miss. A modern car isn't a mechanical object that happens to have a screen in it. It's a network of 50 to 150 individual computers called ECUs, or electronic control units, all talking to each other and increasingly to the internet. Every time you accelerate, brake, turn the wheel, plug in your phone, or even just sit in the driver's seat, multiple systems are quietly logging that. Most of that data has nothing to do with making your car run. It exists because data is valuable, and your car is now a 4,000-pound device built to collect it. According to research from the Mozilla Foundation, modern vehicles can collect over 160 different types of data about you. Not just speed and location, your call logs if your phone connects via Bluetooth, your music preferences, your route history, even inferred details about your habits like where you go to work out or what time you usually leave home. And here's the part that should bother you specifically. More than half the manufacturers Mozilla looked at don't just collect this, they use it to build inferences about you. Guesses about your lifestyle, your health, even things like your likely income bracket generated from connecting the dots on your driving data. This isn't a hidden conspiracy. It's printed in privacy policies most owners never open. So let's break down where it's actually coming from. Start with the system that's been in your car the longest and that you've probably never thought about. The Event Data Recorder, or EDR. People call it the black box, and it's been standard in nearly all new vehicles since 2014. Here's what it actually records: your speed, throttle position, brake application, steering input, seatbelt status, and airbag deployment for about 5 to 10 seconds before a crash, plus a few seconds during and after. It sounds harmless until you see it actually used. In 2011, the Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts crashed a government vehicle and told police he wasn't speeding, was wearing his seatbelt, and had braked before the crash. Every part of that story turned out to be false, and investigators knew because the EDR in his Crown Victoria recorded the truth. 108 miles per hour, no seatbelt, no detected braking. That's the EDR doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And to be fair, it can work in your favor, too. There's a well-documented case of a driver named Ivy Siltala, whose insurance company initially said she was 50% at fault for a rear-end collision. Her EDR data proved she hadn't done anything wrong, and it saved her thousands of dollars. So the EDR itself isn't the villain here. The real issue is who can access it and under what conditions, and that part is murkier than you'd expect. Under federal law, the vehicle owner technically owns their own EDR data. But police can get a court order. Insurance companies can request it as part of a claim. And the data only needs about 17 cents worth of hardware to collect, which is exactly why almost every car now has it, whether you knew or not. The EDR only talks when there's a crash. But almost every new car also has a cellular modem on board, transmitting constantly, which is what powers the apps and remote start features you actually want. And it's also exactly what made the next story possible. This is the part of the video where I stop talking in hypotheticals, because this already happened, at scale, to millions of real drivers. In 2024, the New York Times broke a story that should have been front-page news for a month. General Motors, Hyundai, and Honda had been quietly collecting detailed driving data. acceleration patterns, braking habits, speeding frequency, and selling it to a company called LexisNexis, which builds risk scores and sells those scores to insurance companies. This isn't the EDR we just talked about. This is constant ongoing tracking through your car's internet connection. Every trip, every day, sent automatically, with most drivers having no real idea it was happening. Ken Dahl, who we spoke of at the beginning, was one of the people who got hit by this. 8 separate insurers pulled his risk score. His premium jumped 21%. He had no idea why until journalists started digging. It got bad enough that 2 U.S. senators, Ron Wyden and Ed Markey, sent a formal letter demanding that the FTC investigate. And in January 2025, the FTC actually acted. They banned General Motors, its OnStar subsidiary, and related entities from selling driver location and driving behavior data to data brokers for 5 years. GM had already quietly ended the program a year before the ban, but only after public pressure, not out of nowhere. That same year, things got worse for the industry. The California Privacy Protection Agency investigated automakers directly and fined Honda $632,500 for privacy violations tied to data collection consent practices. And in April 2025, Toyota got hit with a class action lawsuit alleging it sold not just driving data, but image and voice data to marketing companies and even law enforcement without owner consent. A Mozilla researcher put it bluntly, car manufacturers have shifted their focus from selling cars to selling data. Across the 25 brands Mozilla formally reviewed, 84% sell or share your personal information, and 92% give you basically no meaningful control over what happens to it. This is happening industry-wide, right now, while you're reading car reviews, trying to decide which one has the nicest interior. Now let's talk about the part of this that gets the least attention, because it's not just about where you drive. It's about what's recording you while you're inside the car. If you drive a newer Tesla, there's a camera mounted above your rearview mirror pointed directly at the driver. Tesla's official explanation is straightforward. It monitors driver attentiveness when autopilot or full self-driving is active. Eye movement, head position, whether your hands are on the wheel. By Tesla's own documentation, footage stays on the vehicle and isn't transmitted anywhere, unless you've enabled cabin camera analytics in your data sharing settings, in which case clips can be sent to Tesla around safety events to help train future versions of the system. Tesla has been relatively transparent about what triggers this, but here's the uncomfortable detail. The camera is capable of recording any time you're in the vehicle, and footage covers the entire cabin, not just the driver. Tesla's own support documentation states it's the driver's responsibility to inform passengers that cabin camera sharing is turned on. Most drivers never do, because most drivers don't know to check. And Tesla isn't unique here. It's just the most visible example because owners have managed to access and publish footage from their own cars showing exactly what the system sees. Most other manufacturers have similar driver monitoring cameras now, mandated partly by safety regulations meant to catch drowsy or distracted driving. The safety case is real, but once that hardware exists in millions of vehicles, the question stops being, does this help prevent crashes, and becomes, what else could this data be used for later by a company that's already shown it's willing to sell driving data to insurers? That's not paranoia. That's just following the pattern we already documented in the last section. So here's the question. The title of this video is built around who actually owns it. Legally in the US, it depends entirely on what kind of data we're talking about, and that ambiguity is the whole problem. The Driver Privacy Act of 2015 says you, the owner, technically own your EDR, your black box data. That's relatively settled, but the constant telematics data, your daily driving behavior, location history, the stuff that actually got sold to insurers, exists in a much grayer area. It's usually covered by consent buried in your infotainment system's terms of service, the kind you agree to during setup without reading, or sometimes just by activating a connected service like OnStar or BlueLink at the dealership. A lawyer involved in the Toyota lawsuit put it well. If you go to buy a car, you have a single focus, the price. They don't give people that choice to see what's going to happen with this data at the time of purchase. They bury it, And right now, your actual rights depend heavily on which state you live in. States like California, Texas, Oregon, and Montana have passed real consumer privacy laws giving you some ability to access or delete this data. Most states have nothing. 2 of the 25 car brands Mozilla reviewed give you meaningful control over deleting your own data. And both of those are European market-only models, because Europe's privacy laws are simply stricter than anything in the US right now. So the honest answer is, you don't fully own your car's data. You're renting your privacy back to the manufacturer on terms they wrote that you almost certainly never read. I'm not going to end this video telling you to throw your car in a lake. Here's what's actually within your control. First, go into your infotainment system settings and look for data sharing or privacy. On most vehicles, including Tesla, you can disable cabin camera analytics and driving data sharing manually. It's usually buried 2 or 3 menus deep, which is intentional. Second, if you have a connected services subscription like OnStar, BlueLink, or similar, check what you agreed to when you activated it. You can often request what data has been collected on you directly from the manufacturer. Tesla, for example, lets you request a full data export through your account. Third, know your state's laws. If you're in a state with consumer privacy legislation, you likely have a legal right to request deletion or limit sale of your data. If you're not, this is genuinely something worth contacting your state representative about, because legislation is the only thing that's actually changed manufacturer behavior so far, not goodwill. And honestly, the biggest thing you can do is just know this is happening. Most people had no idea any of this was true until 5 minutes ago. That ignorance is the entire business model. The moment owners started asking questions, filing lawsuits, and pressuring the FTC, GM backed off, Honda got fined, and the conversation actually started to shift. So, does your car know more about you than your insurance company should? Almost certainly. Is that going to change anytime soon? Only if enough people start asking the same question you just spent the last 15 minutes thinking about. If you found this useful, the next video in this series is going to dig into self-driving systems specifically, what happens legally when the car itself is the one making the decision that causes a crash. Subscribe if you want to be there for that one,